La Yashala. Upanya Aquadum, which means to rise, turn and face the east. We're going to begin with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shankar, Yahweh, Malawitha, Thaba'ah, Ratazakah, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim, Nathanlanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalat Nawa, Kapawath Yanawa, Kasalat Nawa, Kapawath Yanawa, Wala'ah, Tabi Anawa, Banasaya one, Abal, Hoshainawa, Mayan, right? Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha Allah, Waha the Barath, La Iwalamya, Aman. We just read. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Let it so be it. Amen. All right, we're going to do the power, Hakuk in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Baba Kashah, Nathan Lanawa, Hakuk, Hakuk, Larpa'ah, Kal Maka'ala, Wakal Matawa, Hakuk, Lataha, Ha Matazarayam, Hakuk, Lahaquayam, Hamathia, Hakuk, Arakawa, Hatama Allah, Lagarashan, Bahashim Yahushai, the water, Aman. We just read. Lord, in the name of Yahushua, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out in the name of Yahushua. Thank you. So be it. All right, next we're going to do Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah, Ayunya, Al Haharayam, Ma'ayan, Yaba'ah, Azayah, Azayah, Ma'ay, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayam, Wa'arataza, Ayathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Al Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashan, Shawamah, Yasha'Allah, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al Yud, Yumyaka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'ah, Yukaka, Wayarak, Balialah, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashama, Uthnapashka, Yahweh, Yashama, Taza Uthka, Wabawa Akka, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai Awalam. We just read. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. We're going to do Psalms 83 in the Hebrew. Alahayim, al-Damalika, al-Dakarash, wa al-Dashakwat, al-Kayahanan, al-Yabika, Yahama Yawan, wa Mashanayika, Nasha'awa, Ra'ash, al-Aimaka, Yerayamwa, Sawad, Wea Tha'itazawa, al-Tispawanyika, Amawar, Lakawar, Wanakakida, Magayah, Wala'a, Yazakah, Shem Yasha'ala, Iwa, Kaya, Noah Itazawa, La, Yakub, Al Yakub, Bayarath, Yakarathwa, Abalya, Slaki, Ahol, Slaki, Abalya, Adawam, Washamayam, Mawa'aba, Wa Hagarayam, Gabal, Wa Amawan, Wa Amalak, Palashat, Am Yashabia, Tazawar, Gum Ashawar, Nalawar, Imam, Hayawar, Zara'ai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Aisha, Laham, Kamaji, Kasa Yasara'ah, Kayabia, Banakal, Kwayashwan, Nashamaba, Ba'ayan Da'ara, Hayawar, Daman, La'adama, Shiyathamwa, Nadiyamwa, Ka'ara, because of Ba, because of Bak, because of Zamanai, Kol Nasiyakamwa, Ashar, Amawar, Nayirashah, Lanawar, Af Na'awat, Alahayim, Alahaya, Shiyathamwa, Kagogala, Kakwash, Lapanya Rakah, Ka'ash, the Ba'ira, Ya'ira, Wakalahaba, Delahut, Harayam, Kuntharadutma, Wasa Irika, Wabas Wafka, the Bahalam, Mala'ah, Panyaham, Kuala One, Webakwashwa, Shankar, Yahweh, Yabashwa, Webahawa, Ajai, Wekapara, Weabara, Weaiwa, Kaya, Athar, Shankar, Yahweh, Labadka, Al Yawan, Al Kaha Arataza. All right, what we just read was Psalms 83. Keep not thy silence, O power. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O power. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur is also joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Salah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kasar, which perished at Endor, that became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Orad, and like Ze'ed. Yea, all their princes as Zabah and as Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the house of the Most High in possession. O my power, make them like a wheel, as a stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high over all the earth. All right, we're going to do the blessings in the Hebrew. Barak atah Yahweh, wa Yahushua, wa Mayak Ya'ala, wa Alahaya, Matazabaya, Alawat Yahana, Ha Alawapya, Ha Saranya, Ha Kotazayanya, Ha Koyayoya, wa Wafya, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, for water, our mother. What we just read. Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahushai, and Michael, and the angels, Commander General Yohanan, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, thank you. So be it. Asad, which means to turn. Scrolls. Yeshabia, which means to be seated. All right. All right, where did we leave off this week? All right, where we left off. Last week we were in, I believe we're still in the book of Genesis. Let's go to the book of Genesis. We are in, let's see, the book of Genesis chapter think we up and running again. We're in Exodus chapter 37, verse 12. Verse 12, all right? We're going to do the first 7 in the Hebrew. I believe we had some connection issues, but I think we should be good. I think we should be money right now. See if make sure. Yeah, we up and running again. All right, we back. All right, so Exodus chapter 37. We're going to start at verse 12, all right? All right, Exodus chapter 37, verse 12. Where Aisha, Lawa, Mother, Salaki, Masa Garath, Tapak, Sabaya, where Aisha, Zar, Zahar, Lamasa Garathawa, Sabaya, verse 13. Where Tazak, Lawa, Araba'ai, Taba Aitha, Zahar, Wayathan, Ath Hata Ba'aitha, Al Araga'ai, Papa Atha, Ashar, La'ara Ba'ai, Ragala Yawa, verse 14. La'ai Matha, Hamasagarath, Hayawa, Hataba'aitha, Bathayam, Labadayam, Lasha Atha, Ath Hashala Khan, verse 15. Waya Aisha, Ath Habadayam, Aitazaya, Shitayam, Waya Tazak, Atham, Zahar, Lasha Aitha, All right, we just read Exodus chapter 37, verse 12. Also, he made thereunto a border of a handbreadth round about, and made a crown of gold for the border thereof round about. And he cast it for 4 rings of gold, and put the rings upon the 4 corners that were in the 4 feet thereof. Verse 14. Over against the border were the rings, the places for the staves to bear the table. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold to bear the table. And he made the vessels which were upon the table, his dishes, and his spoons, and his bowls, and his cover to cover withal of pure gold. Verse 17. And he made the candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work made he the candlestick. His shaft and his branch, his bowls, his knops, and his flowers were of the same. Verse 18. And 6 branches going out of the sides thereof. So it's basically talking about the menorah. There's the single candlestick in the middle, and then there's the 3 branches, 6 altogether, coming out the side of the single candlestick. And 3 branches of candlestick out of the side thereof, and 3 branches of candlestick out of the side thereof. Verse 19. 3 bowls made after the fashion of almonds in 1 branch, a knot and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almonds in another branch, a knot and a flower. So throughout the 6 branches, going out the candlestick. And in the candlestick were 4 bowls made like almonds, his knops and his flowers. Salak 125. Next 7 in the Hebrew. Exodus chapter 37, starting at verse 20. Waba manara, araba iha, gaba ayam, mashakwa duyam, kapa thuraya, wapara kaya, verse 21. Wakapathar, Thakath, Shanya, Hakwanayam, Mamana, Rakapathar, Thakathar, Shanya, Hakwanayam, Mamana, Yakapathar, Takath, Shanya, Hakwanayam, Mamana, Lashatha, Hakwanayam, Haya Taza'ayam, Mamana, verse 22, Kapatharayaham, Yakwa Natham, Mamana, Hayawa, Kala, Makwasha, Akatha, Zaha, Tahawal, verse 23. Waya Aisha, Atha, Nara, Thaya, Shaba Aiha, Wamala, Kaya, Wamaka, Thaya, Zaha, Tahawar, verse 24. Kakar, Zaha, Tahawar, Aisha, Atha, Wa'atha, Kalaya, verse 25. Where Aisha, Ath, Mazabak, Hakwa Tarath, Itaziyah, Shitiyum, Ama, Arakawa, Wa Ama, Rakabawa, Rubba, Rubba I, Wa Ama Thiyum, Kwama Thawa, Mama Nawa, Hayawa, Quara Nathayawa, verse 26. Waya Tazak, Athawa, Zaha, Tahawa, Ath Gagawa, Wa'ath Quayara Thiyawa, Sabaya, Wa'ath Quara Nathayawa, Waya Aisha, Lawa, Zar, Zahar, Sabaya, 27. Washa Thayah, so we went too far. Exodus chapter 37, starting at verse 20. And in the candlestick were 4 bowls made like almonds, his knots and his flowers. So it's basically talking about these 4 bowls that are made like almonds. See the 4 bowls on the bowls on the top? And a knot on the 2 branches of the same, and a knot on the 2 branches of the same, and a knot under the 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches going out of it. Their knots and their branches were of the same. All of it was one beaten work of pure gold. Verse 23. And he made 7 lamps, and his snuffers, and his snuff dishes of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold made he it, and all the vessels thereof. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood. The length of it was a cubit, and the breadth of it a cubit. It was 80, meaning 80, and 2 cubits was the height of it. The horns thereof were of the same. Verse 26. And he overlaid it with pure gold, both the top of it and the sides thereof round about, and the horns of it. Also he made unto it a crown of gold round about. All right. Next one, Exodus chapter 37, verse 27. Washafiyah Taba'itha Zahab Aisha Lawa Muthakatha Lazarawa Al Shatiyah Ila I Thayawa Al Shanya Tazada Yawa Labathayam Labadayam Lasha Atha Athawa Bahum, verse 28. Waya Aisha Ath Abadiyam Itaziyah Shitayam Waya Tazak Athum Zahab, verse 29. Waya Aisha Ath Shaman Hamasha Ka Quadash Wa'ath Quatarath Hasamayam Tahawar Ma'aisha. All right, Exodus chapter 38. I believe we got 5 more, starting in Exodus chapter 38. Where Aisha Ath Mazabak Ha'ila Itaziyah Shitiyam Kamash Amawath Arakawa Wakamash, Amawath, Raka Bawal, Rubber Wa'ai, Washilasha, Amawath, Kwama Thawar, verse 2, where Aisha, Quara Nathiyawar, Al Arabai, Panathiyawar, Mama Nawar, Hayawar, Quara Nathiyawar, Waya Tazak, Athawar, Nathashatha, verse 3, Waya Aisha, Ath Kal Kaliyah, Hamazabak, Ath Hata Yarak, Wa Ath Haya Ayam, Wa Ath Hamazarakwa, Hamazakwara Slaki, Hamazarakwat, Ath Hamaza La'ath, Wa'ath Hamakathatha, Kal Kaliyawar, Aisha, Nakashatha, verse 4, where Aisha, Lamazabak, Makabar, Ma'aisha, Rashatha, Nakashatha, Thakatha, Kara Kabawar, Malamata, I Hataziyah, verse 5, Wayatazak, Araba'ai, Taba'aitha, Ba'a Raba'ai, Hakwa Tazawat, Lama Kabar, Hanakashat, Bathayam, Labadayam, Exodus chapter 37, verse 26, starting at verse 27. And he made 2 rings of gold for it under the crown thereof, by the 2 corners of it, upon the 2 sides of it, to place for the staves to bear withal. Verse 28. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil, and the pure incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the apothecary. Verse 38. Chapter 38, verse 1. He made the altar of burnt offering of shittim wood. 5 cubits was the length thereof, and 5 cubits the breadth thereof. And it was fourscore and 3 cubits the height thereof. And he made the horns thereof on the 4 corners of it. The horns thereof were of the same, and he overlaid it with brass. Verse 3. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, and the flesh hooks, and the fire pans. All the vessels thereof made he of brass. Verse 4. And he made for the altar a brazen grate of network under the compass thereof, beneath unto the midst of it. Verse 5. And he cast 4 rings for the 4 ends of the grate of brass, to be places for the staves. We're going to do the next 7, starting at chapter 38, verse 6. And we read, Waya Aisha, Ath Habadayum, Itas Ya, Shatayum, Waya Tazak, Athum, Nakashatha, verse 7. Waya Ba'a, Ath Habadayum, Bata Ba'ai, The, Al, Ila, Aitha, Hamazabat, Lasha Atha, Athawa, Bahum, Nabawa, Lakatha, Aisha, Athawa, verse 30, verse 8, where Aisha, Ath Hakayawa, Nakashatha, Wa'ath Kanawa, Nakashatha, Bamara'ath, it's like it, Bamara'atha, Hatazaba'atha, Ashar, Taza Ba'awa, Pathak, Ahal, Mawa'ai, verse 9, where Aisha, Ath Hakatazah, Lapa'atha, Nagab, Thayamana, Kwala'ai Ya, Hakatazah, Shasha, Mashazar, Ma'aha, Ba'ama, verse 10. Imawa Diyahum, Aisharayum, Wa'a Daniyahum, Aisharayum, Makashatha, Wawaya, Ha'ai Madiyum, Wakashakwayahum, Kasap, verse 11. Wala Pa'atha, Tazapa 1, Ma'aha, Ba'ama, Imawa Diyahum, Aisharayum, Wa'a Daniyahum, Aisharayum, Nakashatha, Wawaya, Ha'ai Mawadiyum, Wakashikwa Yatum, Kasap, verse 12. Wala Pa'atha, Yum, Kwala Ayum, Kamashayum, Ba'ama, Imawa Diyahum, Aishara, Wa'a Daniyahum, Aishara, Wawaya, Ha'ai Madiyum, Waka Shayakoyahum, Kasat. All right. We just read Exodus chapter 38, verse, we'll start at verse 6. And he made the staves of shittim wood and overlaid them with brass. And he put the staves into the rings of the sides of the altar to bear it withal. He made the altar hollow with boards. And he made the laver of brass, and the foot of it of brass, of the looking glasses of the women assembling, which assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he made the court on the south side southward. The hangings of the court were of fine twined linen, 100 cubits. Their pillars were 20, and their brazen sockets 20. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. And for the north side, the hangings were 100 cubits. Their pillars were 20, and their sockets of brass 20. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the west side were hangings of 50 cubits. Their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the east side, Salaki, we're going to stop right there. All right, so we're in Exodus chapter 38, verse 13 in the Hebrew. Wala pa'atha, Qadama, Mazaraka, Kamashiyam, Amma, verse 14. Quala Ayam, Hamash, Aishara, Amma, Al Hakatha, Imawa, Diyahum, Shalasha, Wa'a, Daniyahum, Shalasha, verse 15. Walakatha, Ashaniyah, Mazaha, Wamazah, Shala, Lasha Ira, Hakatazah, Kwala Ayam, Kamash, Aishara, Amah, Imadiyahum, Shalasha, Wa'a Daniyahum, Shalasha, verse 16. Call Kwala Ayah, Hakatazah, Sabaya, Shasha, Mashazar, verse 17. Waha Adaniyam, La'ai Madayam, Nakashatha, Wa Slaki, Wawa Ya, Ha'ai Maria Dayam, Wamasha Wakoyahum, Kasa, Wataza Pawaya, Ra'a Shayahum, Kasa, Wahum, Maka Shakwayam, Kasa, called Imagine, Hakatazah, verse 18. Wamasa, Sha'ira, Hakatazah, Ma'aisha, Raquam, Thakalat, Wa'a Ragaman, Wathawa, La'aitha, Shaya, Yashasha, Mashazar, Wa'ai Shirayam, Amar, Arak, Wakwa, Wama, Barakah, Kamash, Amawath, La'ai Math, Kwala'ai Ya, Hakatazah. All right. So we in Exodus chapter 38, verse 13. And for the east side, eastward, 50 cubits. Verse 14. The hangings of the one side of the gate were 15 cubits. Their pillars 3 and their sockets 3. Verse 15. And for the other side of the court gate, on this hand and that hand were hangings of 15 cubits. Their pillars 3 and their sockets 3. Verse 16. All the hangings of the court round about were of fine twined linen. Verse 17. and the sockets for the pillars were of brass. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver, and the overlaying of the chapiters of silver, and all the pillars of the court were filleted with silver. Verse 18. And the hanging for the gate of the court was needlework of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, and 20 cubits was the length, and the height in the breadth was 5 cubits, answerable to the hangings of the court. Verse 19. And their pillars were 4, and their sockets of brass 4, their hooks of silver, and the overlaying of their chapiters, and the fillets of silver. All right, Exodus chapter 38, verse 20 in the Hebrew. Wakal Hayathadah Lama Shakan Walakwatazah Sabayah Nakashat Nakashatha. Verse 21. Allah Pakwa Wadiyah Hamashikan Masha Khan Ha'ai Datha Asha Pakwa Slakia Pakwa I Paya Masha Ibadatha Alaya Alawayam Baya Aya Thamar Man Aharon Hakahan. Verse 22. Wabataza La'al Ban our Raya Ban